On this week's edition of the Premier League preview show / predictions show, we're going to go over a few things. We're going to talk about, are Man City ever going to lose again? Are Newcastle ever going to win again? Are Burnley ever going to play again? So hit like, hit subscribe, and thank you to all those people that did leave their comments and do as I asked. Last week, that was great. But I think where I'm going to start this week is a little bit left field. I'm going to start with the game between Everton and Aston Villa. As Everton did, of course, sack Rafa Benitez this week, and as the time of recording this, a replacement has not been put in place. Now, we all thought it was an odd appointment, and we all probably thought it would end badly, but I don't think any of us thought it would end badly so quickly, and it is just a bit of a disaster zone at Goodison Park at the moment. So who are they going to bring in? Well, the strong favourite at the moment, and Everton have actually approached Belgium to speak to former manager Roberto Martinez. He has been there before. He did a good job before, until he didn't do a good job and they wanted him out. And let's not forget, he hasn't actually won anything with this Belgium side either, who are one of the best sides in the world and usually start every tournament as the world number one. So is that a good fit? Is that just kind of papering over some cracks? Or is any manager just going to paper over some cracks? Because the last two managers have been Champions League winners in Rafa Benitez and Ancelotti. And this weekend, you've got Aston Villa coming to town with another Liverpool legend, one of the biggest Liverpool legends, Steven Gerrard, bringing his side to Goodison Park. So you are hoping, Everton fans, that it is going to be a strong reaction. I doubt there'll be a manager in charge for it, so it's probably going to be Big Dunk rallying the troops. But do they go for Rooney? Do they go for someone like Lampard? I don't know. I don't think Lampard's particularly a great fit. Or is Roberto Martinez a good fit? Or is Graham Potter, who seems to be linked with every single job, why he would leave Brighton for Everton at the moment, I'm not really too sure. But let me know what you think and who should be the manager. But I really fancy Villa in this game. They were good against Manchester United. They had that great comeback from 2-0 down. They overcame that howler by Martinez early on in the game. He actually had a good game apart from that. And they came back from 2-0 down with Coutinho leading the side coming off the bench. And I think he's going to add so much quality to this Aston Villa side, and the likes of Ramsey looking like another young English shining star in there too. And I expect Aston Villa to turn up and make this game quite comfortable, really. I think it's going to be another disappointing afternoon for Everton. But at least you don't have Rafa anymore. I'm going to go for Everton 0, Aston Villa 2. Chelsea versus Tottenham Hotspur is the next game I'm going to talk about. It's a massive London derby. These two have just played each other a couple of times in the League Cup, with Chelsea winning really comfortably over both legs. I don't know how much that's really going to play out into this league game, because in the league, Chelsea have really been struggling. They had a massive game with Man City last weekend, which they came out the wrong side of it. It was a tight game and they had their chances, but it isn't going for them in the league of late, and it isn't going for them for the league really this season. And they have to say that title challenge is over now. They will want a response, and Spurs will be pissed off that the North London derby was called off, and they're calling Arsenal a bunch of cowards. But look, listen, you didn't beat Arsenal. It's another weekend where you didn't beat them, and that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if the game wasn't played. You didn't beat them. It's difficult because that League Cup game does run fresh in my mind, where Chelsea were very, very comfortable against this Spurs side. You know how Tottenham are going to play, and the Conte is going to be full of energy, full of pressing, and just trying to get the ball forward quickly, and just hoping that their defence can just not do anything stupid, not give anything cheap away. But I think that you're going to see a good game. I think you're actually going to see a high-scoring game as well. I think most Tottenham games are going to have goals in them in the run into the end of the season, because they don't really have much choice other than to just go for it in games. And I'm going to go for an entertaining draw. I'm going to say Spurs do pull something out of the bag here. I'm going to go for Chelsea 2, Tottenham 2. And let's just say, before we move on, Lukaku, I'm not going to call him a target man anymore, because he was hold-up play against Man City. He was useless. He looks like he can't do that job. So the only way how Chelsea link up and play with Lukaku and get him involved at his best is still a bit of a mystery to them. at the moment, so because they're really not getting the best out of him. And he was really key for me if they were going to win the league or do anything really special in Europe again. We head down to the foot of the table to see Watford versus Norwich City, and hallelujah, Norwich City. Where did that win come from? A fantastic 2-1 victory at Everton, which sealed Rafa's fate, and a much needed win for you. There is hope in this relegation fight for you now. There's 4 teams down there. It looks like there's 4 teams of Watford, Norwich, Newcastle, Burnley. It is going to be 3 of those 4 that is going to go down. Everyone else just looks like they're pulling away quite comfortably. But Norwich needed to find something, and they absolutely did. Adam Eder is the new hero of Norwich City. And again, they did actually look pretty good in the game. They should have been more up. I mean, they missed that great chance with the back pass that was presented right to them. But any win is a valuable win for Norwich City. Can they go and back this up at Watford now? Don't think so. I just don't think they're going to back it up. I mean, both of these sides have actually got big games in midweek, and I am filming this before they're going to be. I'm going to know the scores in that one. But I think it's going to be Watford's turn to get that precious victory. And I know Roberto the Hornet, one of our regulars, has been desperate for Watford to get something. And he says, when I asked him the question of who they need to bring in to strengthen last week, he said they needed a centre-back and a full-back and a defensive midfielder. Yeah, they pretty much need solidity in the back unit, and that is kind of where Ranieri's been pulling his hair out all season, because they just can't keep a clean sheet for love nor money. But they did rescue a point against Newcastle, and that was a valuable point where it looked like they were going to lose, and right at the death they did snatch something. So that... And they deserved it as well. They played well in that second half. And that has to be the catalyst for them moving forward. It's a massive game, but I do think Watford are going to nick this. A rare goal for Josh King, a guy I often forget is even there. And then he pops up with goals. I think he'll get a goal this time. And I'm going to go for a scrappy but precious 2-1 win to the Hornets. Manchester United versus West Ham United. Well, last weekend kind of ended in disappointing fashion for both of these United-ids. But when these two play, you usually do expect a pretty good game of football. Man United actually looked very good against Aston Villa. That's the best they've played. Is Ronaldo not playing the key to Fernandes playing well? Like, he's not looking like the second fiddle, so he actually looks like a bit of a leader on the pitch like he did last season. He was excellent against Aston Villa and did not deserve to be on the losing side in that one. West Ham played a crazy game against Leeds and somehow came out the wrong side of it by 3-2. That was a real head scratcher how that one came about. But they'll be looking for a response to going up to Old Trafford to keep that top 4 dream alive, but I don't think they're going to get it. From a Man United point of view, one of our regulars, Judy, he wants a total clear out of everything at Man United. Thank you for your comment. He says that the likes of Martial, Pogba, Lingard, Lee Grant, he's not going to get a game, is he? Pereira, Heaton, Ronaldo, they all need to go. And Harry Maguire isn't Man United quality either. Probably not saying much that we don't already know there, but thank you for your comment. And yet, it does feel like this is going to take a long time to unravel and unweed for Man United and to get some better players on the pitch. But again, maybe last weekend was the sign that things are starting to improve under Ralph Rangnick. And again, I think West Ham will put in a strong performance here, but they're still vulnerable out the back without some of their key players. But the likes of, I thought Rice was really impressive in midfield, and Bowen is in the form of his life. He's got to be close to an England call-up in there. So a good game, but I think Man United pinch it. I'm going to go for 2-1 to Man U. Brentford versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. I've got this one down for a draw. I think this one's going to be a 1-1 draw. Brentford will get something. They were understandably and expectedly beaten heavily by Liverpool at Anfield last weekend. Wolves had a great victory over Southampton. Rare that they get 3 goals in the game, so enjoy that, Wolves fans. You won't see that too many times very often. And a rare Traore goal as well. Everybody's, I say it loads of times, he needs to add goals and he needs to add assists, but you can't knock him. He did get his goal after ballooning an easier chance over the bar maybe a few moments earlier. But An excellent performance, which was only marred by a wonder strike by Ward-Prowse, which means they didn't keep another clean sheet with his excellent keeper and defence. But I think Burnley will nick something. I think they'll just pinch a point here. I'm going to go for a solid 1-1 draw. Leeds United versus Newcastle United. Now, before we get to Newcastle, Leeds, what a great win. What a fantastic win against West Ham. They beat you quite easily in the FA Cup, but you came back and won at the London Stadium. Jack Harrison, the hat-trick hero. Who would have thought that at the start of the game? But it was a wonderful display, and a lot of the old Leeds that we saw from last season, just the way they move the ball and attack teams, is very exciting and very good to watch. And I think they will enjoy playing against the Newcastle side, which isn't very good and still isn't very good. And I do think Leeds United are going to win this game. Newcastle, I mean, these are the key games you're playing. You should have beaten Watford after being in the lead and leading for so long. To lose that game would have felt like a defeat. The signings just haven't come in yet. Trippier is a great signing. Chris Wood is a good signing, but if you're flicking through your Rolodex when the Saudis take over of who's going to be, of the star names that you can bring in, I don't think Chris Wood will be anywhere near the top or even on many people's lists. But he is an effective striker. He does offer them something different, but he doesn't score many goals. So I do think Newcastle definitely need to bring in some more firepower because he's not a Callum Wilson replacement. Saint-Maximin seems to still be trying to do a one-man job to keep this side in the Premier League. He needs some help, but I don't think it's going to be a good afternoon for Newcastle either. I'm going for a 3-1 Leeds win. Southampton versus Manchester City. How do you stop Man City? How does anybody stop them? They just find a way to win. It wasn't a great game against Chelsea. It wasn't a bad game, but you saw that pressing machine in full evidence in that game. The way they hunted in packs to win the ball back quickly. If teams get beyond that press, that back four looks very, very impressive. And whenever Chelsea or any side does get past that, you've then got to deal with Ederson, who again made some key saves and looked very good as well. And those players are so used to playing without a striker now that they just know they can just sit in a game, control it, and somebody will come up with something brilliant. And it was De Bruyne last time out reminding us of what an amazing player he is. What an individual goal that was worthy of winning any game of football. Saints are just not going to get near them in this one, unfortunately. You know, they play a high pressing style, a high tempo style, but I don't think it's going to cause City any problems. I think that's going to be 13 wins in a row for Man City. That is crazy that any side can do that in any league, let alone the Premier League. 2-0. Man City. Arsenal versus Burnley. Right, who's got this down to be called off? Who's got this down to be postponed? It's almost a certainty, isn't it? Burnley never seem to want to play games of football. Arsenal will probably play in the League Cup and then decide they've got no players again and get it called off. When are Burnley ever going to catch up on their games? They're going to have to play like 2 games a week, 3 games a week at some point to catch up. It is nuts how they don't have any players. I don't understand it. It is very farcical, especially when they're selling players in there too. I don't want to talk too much about Arsenal calling off the game against Tottenham because good old Arsenal, they would never do anything seedy and underhanded. And so I was going to say that was poor old Arsenal being so depleted and so bad and bruised that they had to call the game off because really all they did was just spare Spurs from another embarrassment as we move on. But Steve Lawrence, good old friend of the channel and a good friend of mine from back years ago, Arsenal fan through and through, and will never ever say a bad word about Arsenal at all. He said that Arsenal need a centre-back, a central defensive midfielder and 2 strikers. So I can't really argue with that, Steve. Maybe 1 striker, but I definitely see your point. You need to strengthen depth more than anything else. So that's pretty much spot on, as you normally are with all things Arsenal, with your red shaded glasses and all. But if this game is played, Arsenal are going to win it. They're going to be too strong for Burnley. Nice and solid win, 2-0 for the Gunners. Crystal Palace versus Liverpool. It seems like an eternity ago that Crystal Palace-Brighton game was played, but predictably it ended 1-1, and I kind of thought that the game would play out exactly as it did, with Palace taking the lead and Brighton scoring very, 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 very late. They love a late goal, but we'll get to Brighton. Palace, that's absolutely fine. They roll on. Conor Gallagher's the man, isn't he? Looking great all the way through this season. They won't beat this Liverpool side, though, whose show maybe took them longer to take control of the game against Brentford than they would have liked, but it was a comfortable win in the end, 3-0. Obviously still missing the key names that we always talk about, but yeah, you're going to be too strong for Crystal Palace. I do think it is going to be a Liverpool 2-1 win, but we have had a couple of comments from some Liverpool fans. Josh Koska coming in and saying that Liverpool need a back-up right back. And they also some attacking depth would be great as well. But ultimately, the main thing is to sign Salah in and for a new contract. And yeah, absolutely right on that one, Josh. Patrick Silk, another legend, very biased opinions legend, has said that Liverpool need more players in midfield or attack because they're really struggling and don't have a lot of depth in those areas. So yeah, that's where, get those messages out to Klopp. That's where they need to strengthen. But I don't think they're going to really struggle too much against Palace. Not an easy place to go, but Liverpool will win it. 2-1. And finally, we have Leicester City versus Brighton and Hove Albion. Well, I normally have Brighton down for a draw, don't they? So what am I going to pick this week? Well, I'm actually not for once. I'm going to go for a Leicester home win. Yes, I know I'm always nasty to Brighton and Hove Albion, but I just feel that Leicester will get the victory here. I feel when they do play, they have been in pretty decent form of late. Certainly going forward, they're a bit of a handful, and I think they will just be too strong for Brighton on this occasion. A lot of talk about Potter. He's going to be linked for every single job now, isn't he, going forward? But, does he really want to leave Brighton? Would he really want to leave Brighton for anything other than a really massive job? He's doing a good job there. He's comfortable. Maybe if a club can offer him bigger resources, then it'd be silly to turn it down. But it's a job like Everton, I don't think it's going to turn his head at the moment. I know Everton are a bigger club than Brighton in history of English football, but it doesn't mean they're a better club than them at the moment. And I don't think that they are. So I think Potter will stay there for a while. As I say, it's got to be something pretty tempting. And he is just improving this Brighton side, as they are not too many pieces away from really clicking and being almost like a side that's up there like a Wolves, really, aren't they? Or a West Ham, and challenging for European places. So a good game, but Leicester will win it. I'm going to go for 2-1. And that will do it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you could leave your comments down below, that would be great. Remember, I'm not doing score predictions, so any other comments or anything about Everton's managerial situation or anything how you think your club's going to go in this round of fixtures is great. But I'm not going to read out score predictions anymore, I am afraid. If you can hit like on the video, that would be great. If you haven't hit subscribe but you like the content, then please hit that subscribe button and hit that notify bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. I'll be back very soon with some more content, Premier League or Oxford United related. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.